We are moving into an age of manifestation. Things become actually less material, more ethereal. The golden dawn is when we awaken to this new station of life. What you think becomes real quicker. Regain our imagination, regain our inner child, and let that inner child out.
My name is Frank Castle, founding member of the music group Heistlick and New York City Neo Shaman. After a serious injury sidelined my career in 2013, I decided to set out on an adventure to search for myself with the help of the plant medicine Ayahuasca. What I discovered waiting for me was something I could have never prepared for. It was time for me to become something more, someone more. It was time I became fearless. In the darkest of nights, gonna let my light shine as my heart beats a rhythm with space and time. When the light starts to shine inside your third eye, you awake to the knowledge that you never die. I'm becoming fearless. What is up, everyone? It's your main man, Frank Castle, your sorcerer supreme, right here each and every Saturday night on FearLess. Feels great to be back. I hope the sound is all right. I've been playing with it a little bit. You're out of touch for a week or two, and your mind goes bonkers a little bit, and you almost forget. There's always something you're going to forget. But I am so happy to be here with you. I love every one of you. Thank you. Shout outs to the Fearless family. I have a lot to discuss because you could still hear my my voice is a little, it's still not back. I want to say thank you to everyone. My grandmother did pass last week or this past week. It was around 1:15 in the morning. It was like last Saturday. Or Sunday. I can't remember. You get so hit over the head with everything. But, okay, so I'll start there. This isn't a downer story, though. Tonight's story is epic in every sense of what we're doing here. So this is just me sharing my story of this, and I'm sure many of others have stories, excuse me, their fearless path, their journey, that you're just going to see how we all link up. So when you're born in like 1930s, right, 1920s, stuff like that, you're just a different person, right? So they're very closed-minded in a lot of ways, and they're also epic as people in others that we today don't even understand. They hear some of our problems and they're like, "Well, that's too much." So I envy that part of them. Damn, I've been wearing my glasses too long. It looks like I got punched in the face. So I always wonder how they take things, right? And I've had long discussions with my grandparents individually about what happens when you die, when you pass. Oh, I made the best coffee tonight. It's fantastic. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. So my grandmother was a little more open to things, but frightened, right? Gandalf the Grey. My grandfather believes you go in the box and it closes and it's black and done. Well, the universe has an interesting way of working its magic on people. Like they can't understand what I do. They tried, one tried a little. I just told her, but she started losing her mind, so it doesn't matter. But just to tell her stuff, you know. For her, I'd make it like a cartoon was occurring. And that was my life. Like, oh, I'm going to work. This is what happens at work, you know? And then these beings came in, and then this happened. And she was like, whoa. And I'm like, yeah, you know? And then Aunt Rosie was there, and she threw a slap at one of them. And you know how Rosie is. And she's like, I do know how Rosie is. She'll throw you a beating. I was like, I know, right? So this is how you try to connect with that version of the human. I mean, they do their best. I mean, but they also were the ones that provided everything. Through your portal is how we all showed up. Some other portals as well, of course, but it's the overmother, right? The mother of mothers. I had a great grandmother. I knew my great grandmother. She was into black magic. She was Italian, and she hated everyone but me. She loved me. Oh, did she love me? She saw something in me. Now that I look back, I knew I had that. Right? Like a Jedi doesn't need you to tell him, oh, you're a Jedi. They don't need that. They just do their stuff. Right? I had that feeling in me. I don't know if I'd call it Jedi, but I don't know what else to relate it to. Something special in me. And I used to like touch everything on her little hutch with all the little figurines and stuff. But people would always, they would always be coming to the house to give her gifts, right? I'm like, why do people just come here and drop off packages and bags and money? Right now, naturally, they're like, oh, well, your grandmother, grandfather, great grandfather were into some stuff. Yeah, they might have been. But the stories I hear today, it wasn't like that. They weren't mob related. They didn't come from that angle. They came from, it's black magic to me, right? Whatever they called it is what they called it. So it's the evil eye and all that stuff. To keep it simple, she would do that. I don't think he was involved in any way. He was more of a go to work, do what he's got to do kind of guy. Now, he did run during Prohibition liquor at like 15 years old, some craziness like that. But she was straight witch magic, and people would come and bring her gifts. And I would just be like, they love it. Everyone loves great grandma. See, I had a different view. Everyone was like, she'll put a spell on you. One of the ladies I met later in life for an ayahuasca ceremony, who found me through one of my cousins. It's so weird how it's synchronistic. I show up at her place, and she's like, your great grandmother trained me. And this lady was pretty old. She had to be like 68, something like that. But she was really spry, black magic galore. She had the twinkle. I did a whole episode where I went there, and she kept trying to touch me and give me water. And I was like, no, it's okay. My cousin came in, and she like intercepted it a bunch of times, but we were just flowing. It just kind of came out. And then she like touched my leg, and I couldn't stop looking at her. I was able to pull away from every other part, but it was interesting how it was almost like if you do drugs with someone, it's just like you and them are on that drug and nobody else matters. How did that happen? Well, I drank Aya the next day with a guy that was in Desert Storm. So I was like but we had drank together a bunch of times. So now we were traveling together, but I had that happen. I didn't know I was watching him, and we drank together, and we were sitting on two separate beds looking at each other. And then they just like pushed his head down, pushed my head down. And then they were like, separate, and our bubbles separated. And I can see like a whole world beginning in his, and in mine, it went right back to that lady. And she had touched my leg, and there was like black goo stuff just traveled up my leg. And they're like, yeah, you need to get rid of that now. That chick was a witch. But she talked about it so easily to me to make it not like, oh, I'm an evil witch, right? But she had altars everywhere, and she had all kind of things. And when I looked in at that day, it was just fully demonic on every level. There's much more that involves itself, not just demonics. It doesn't just work like that. People like this are like an organic portal for these beings.
and they offer them gifts, but also offer them themselves to do things. Interesting. So they always wind up doing crazy stuff, right? Like you get the bedroom eyes from them, and then you get in the bedroom and they go, something crazy. And they're like, they just push that lever all the way, and you're like, whoa, 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 I'm not down to any of this kind of stuff. It got to the point where she was telling me she had human bones from a ceremony where they put her in a grave, an open grave in New Orleans. And they were, she was like, they were extra nasty to me because I was white. That's what she told me. Right. And then she was showing me like how they dump you in there naked and leave you in this grave. And it's like 12 feet deep. It's really deep. And she's like, you live there for 3 days, 3 nights or something. And on the third night, if you're worthy, this thing comes out. So they're feeding her all kinds of stuff. Like they come and they bring her a plate of stuff once a day. And she's like, I'm going to the bathroom in this place. I'm doing all kinds. And I'm just looking at her like, what? So she said after the third day, she was shaking and stuff. It was really bad. And she was going to break and say, get me out of here. She goes, this thing came right in with her and sat with her. It was like a half size, I don't know, like a goblin type thing, but undead looking, like the skull was had peeled flesh on it and everything. The more I describe it, the more I get sick just thinking about it. And it told her to take bones, and then that would power whatever, she gave me this weird thing. It's like an energetic thing. Now we're connected and you can see and all this. That's all BS, all of it. So she had this experience and then became a witch to them. They were like, oh, white girl survived. And she was like, yeah, I survived. I've been doing this since I'm a little kid with guess whose great grandmother. That's the kind of stories that come up here in my world in the Bronx. Weird stuff. Anyway, so back to my grandfather, who's the box closes and it's over. He has a bacterial pneumonia, and then he got like the flu right after he got over one. This dude is on. So another guy that could just work to the bone. And you wonder, like, man, is this worth it? Well, today it might not be worth it to do what he did then, although it's a good hustle if you can do it. I know people that complain about it, but if you stop complaining and just do it, you'd already be 200 ahead, right? It takes a couple of weeks. I know so many people that were starting right out of school and they can't do anything, right? But one kid got a job in the bank, and he's a kid that drank with me, with a whole bunch of other kids here. We talked about it, the UFO experience and everything. This kid was one of us, right? I don't want to say his name, but he's like a shining light. And then everyone wants to get rich quick here, right? The whole world wants to get rich quick, especially here in the Bronx, right? Yo, I got a scheme, I got a scam, I got a scheme, right? This kid was like, I'm going to go to work at the bank. They gave me a shot. So I'm going to not smoke pot, take a drug test. I'm going to go to work and then just get this started. He's really young, right? So I'm like, good for you. All right. So 1 year, in 1 year, okay, he bought himself this fly suit, right? I was like, dude, you look fly. Like, you're a good looking dude now. I couldn't believe what I was looking at. He was a different guy. And he was in a brand new car. Awesome car, too. I keep calling him Knight Rider, right? And he's like, oh, he wasn't alive when Knight Rider was out at all, right? So, but he goes, I saw that. Is that what the car that talks and has that stupid little intercom thing? I'm like, yeah, that's Kit, right? And David Hasselhoff. He goes, oh yeah. He goes, doesn't that guy? Isn't he German? Like they have no connection to this, right? I'm like the dude from Baywatch. He's like, what? So this is how young he is, and now he's getting an apartment. Right. And he was like, why, how things changed in 1 year. He has a very pretty girlfriend now and everything. Like his whole world changed. I'm like, we went into the bank, and then Paula saw him and she ran up to him and was like, yay. So things are, popping and shaking. Anyway, so back to my grandfather. I get really upset when I think about him, and I say, all right, I got a different program. I take the Indian connection in me is through him, right? So it's Navajo Indian. Everyone wants to be a Cherokee until you're a Navajo, right? And then you're like, I can work with that. my lineage goes that way. So we were chatting about it. So I'm like, your father, great grandpa, walks through the house. Yes. Oh yeah, yeah. What do you mean? Oh yeah, yeah. He walks through the house and okay. So then what happened to him if the box closes and it's all over? I don't know. It's like over his pay grade all of a sudden. See, the human suit can't think like that. It's just not programmed to work that way. And I'm like, all right, well, I saw him. I have my first white hairs, and my brother had his first gaping, holding his heart, sides of his hair turning white as a very young man. Seeing your dad live in effect with all the lights on in the house walk through the house, which when they walk, they don't use their feet. They move through the house like a ghost, right? Like I completely lost it, completely broke down. First time experience. I wasn't ayahuasca, nothing. I was like, yo, someone in the front room. And then it looked like this guy was like bent over looking where my grandmother always sits. And then I'm like, yo, and then it just turned and looked at me. And it looked like he was in a long coat, white shirt, tie, black tie. It looked like he had a hat on of some kind. He looked really fly, by the way, but for me, it looked fly. I was like, wow, this guy's pimping. Maybe that's how they dressed all the time back then. And he moved at me as I moved at him. It was like the living room. Where are we? The living room was the front room, then the living room. So he was right there, though. And I was across the house in the kitchen. And it's just the hallway across. The dining room's the middle place. I ran. I was going to tackle this guy. And then I got right in front of him. And when he moved, I completely freaked. I backed up. And he got right in my face. He was taller than me, looked right in my eyes, and I went, Grandpa? And then he went, woof, and went around me, and I stumbled to the ground. I couldn't breathe. I freaked out. I was like, what did I just see? What did I just see? And then my brother screamed because he was coming up the stairs behind me and from the kitchen. That's where the staircase down to the basement is where we'd all hang out. So he was coming up, shut the lights. He said he thought it was me, and he shut the light, turned around, and it was standing in front of him. And he's like, that's not Frank. And he goes, the way it moved, and he just fell. He said he thought he was having a heart attack. He was holding his chest. His mouth was wide open, and his eyes were rolling in his head. And he was a young kid. I was like, so I saw it move because all the lights were on out through the back. Right. So now I've heard this described, though, 1,000,000 times in my house. My aunt, she saw him. My mother saw him. My father, who doesn't believe in anything but the born again version of Jesus and stuff, he was like, I'm in your room, which is where my mother's room is, which used to be my bedroom growing up. Everybody lived there, so it was everyone, right? So it's basically just his. But no one liked my father there, really, except one or two people. But he said he was laying in the room, and he woke up, and there was a guy over my crib, and when the guy looked back at him, he goes, dude, it was your great grandfather, right? He goes, I go to scream because I'm freaking out because you could kind of see through him. I said the same thing too when I saw him. I said it was like a solid shadow that had definition, and it wasn't like smoky or this. I thought it was a man standing there, but then I could notice I could see through it because there's like a front big window with lights coming in from outside. It kind of lights up that one part even more, even with all the lights on. So you're like, whoa, I saw the reflection of one of the pictures on the wall through him. And I was like, because you're not expecting any of this, right? So my father said he couldn't move. He got, he said he tried to scream. You hear of reports of this. Now, my father doesn't tell me about anything, but he told me this story a few years before we stopped talking. And he goes, I was frozen in absolute fear. And then I'm like, who, me? He's like, yeah, you were a baby in the crib right across from me, laughing hysterical. And he was like looking back at you and like as if he was loving, like a loving person. And then woof, out the door. He goes, I never stayed at your grandparents overnight ever again after that moment. And we've had stories of like pictures on the walls when you're like cursing at one of the dead relatives, they would fly off the walls and hit you if you were like being hyper disrespectful. All kinds of weird paranormal stuff. All right, now dead center, my grandfather. What do you think's going on, bro? Forget about aliens and UFOs for a second and all that other weirdo stuff. Let's just talk about paranormal for 1 second. What do you think's going on? That everyone has the story. Well, I know when he's there, it smells like his cigar. Yeah, I know, because he was puffing that shit like a fucking train coming through the room. After I've seen him here in my house, I had been attacked. This was like 2 years ago. It looked like I was throwing a baby fit. And I was kind of on psychedelics, though. So not kind of, I was like halfway there, you know, where you're not fully involved in it. And I started crying for help. And I'm like, I can't breathe. I need help. Like I was like I can't curse, a big fat baby, right? Laying on the floor. And then I started shaking. I thought I was going to die. I thought I was going to die. And then as I popped right out. And I was like, no. And then I was like, but no. I don't want to go back in, but no, I don't want to die. And I saw versions of me. It was the craziest thing. This is why they say ancestors. Just say ancestors. Don't worry about anything else. Don't worry about any beings. Everyone's connected to the all. So just say ancestors. I saw a lion man, which was like a version of me but it was like a grandfather. So he was white with the big mane and everything. He was looking, he had a robe. He was staring at me. And then my great grandfather was standing next to him. But there was other beings standing around me as if they were clicking in as I was like looking and accessing them. It was weird. I was freaking out. And then my grandfather's like, okay, I'm here to take you. You could come with me. And I'm like, I don't want to go with you. I'm not supposed to go into the light. No, I'm not supposed to take the hand of anyone I know because it's a holographic illusion filled by the AI tentacle and da-da-da. And then they just looked at the lion and were like, okay, I guess it's your turn. And he's like, I'm not going. And they were like, it's your turn. And then he and then dove with me back into my body. And then I just sat up on the couch, and when I looked over, there was a demon just staring at me like, ah. And I flew. I almost did it. I flew off the couch, right? And then I like pulled myself together. Paula was like, what are you doing, bro? And I'm like, my grandfather's here, and the lion being jumped into my chest. But the demon was just staring at me, and I don't want that thing touching me because I've had them. They had to be purged in the past. So I jumped, and I looked at it, and then the lion, like like I'm here now, that kind of thing filled me. And then I was just standing because I jumped up, and then I was like, you need to get out of here. And they all these the beings that were around me that I was calling ancestors descended on this one being and just dragged him out of the room. And then the lion being was like, you all right? You're all right? I heard it. I was like, oh yeah. Boop, popped out and bounced. And he was like, I got the feeling like he did not. I got a feeling that none of them wanted to do any of that, right? And then I remember my great grandfather looking at me in disappointment, though. At one point, he was disappointed in me. And I was like, oh, grandpa, like, you're like the great grandpa. Like I've met my American Indian grandfather. I've met certain grandfathers. I've met my over grandfather where you're just like, oh, it's Big Dad, right? You know? But, yeah. So let's get back to my grandfather. So just in the box, right? So your mother was a witch. And people brought her, I don't know, I forgot what they call that when you give somebody stuff just so they don't mess with you like that. Or they give like blessing to you. You know, I can't explain it. And it's like a patronage to someone. So I'm like, but you've witnessed, and he's like, oh yeah, and great grandma, Wow, you have no idea. And she looked like Throw Mom from the Train grandma. You know, Owen loves his mom, like that chick. That's what she looked like. She was like Yoda. And she spoke Italian and then broken Englishy Italian. I didn't understand her half the time, but then she'd come over to me and just say it in English and then grab my face and I'd be like, I love this lady. And she's like, go play, touch anything you want. Anything, I'll cook you anything you want. And they're like, damn, bring Frank with you his name's not Frank, it's Frankie. Whoa. Yes, Frankie, would you like to go to great grandma's? Yes, I would, please. And they'd be like, damn, drop him off. We'll get out of here. And I used to just hang out with her. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And we must have all saw those things down the line. Okay. So, Grandpa, your brother Richie was down with that witch lady, right? Because they were the same age. She used on him. That was the other story that came out. Right. And I heard from the other family members, they're like, you know that lady? You know what she did to your uncle? I'm like, no, I don't know. Oh, she's a witch. She like took him in and did all this stuff to him and then like cursed him. And he died on the toilet like at a young age. It's weird. Very weird. So I go, so what's all this all about? That if this is all stuff from beyond the box, like this all, you're witnessing stuff from somewhere else enter your realm and do all this stuff. What do you think's happening? What do you think's going on? It's over my pay grade, but I know when that box closes, I'm like, do you think you're going to hell? Do you honestly think that? I'm like, the ancient shaman, I would have to tell him the American Indian shaman, they don't believe in that. You know that, right? Oh, yeah. They go back to the earth or something. I'm like, or something. Okay. So I worry about these things with my grandparents, right? Not realizing the universal role I play in this and how beautiful things can be in a time where you're just like, whoa. So we leave from visiting. And then that night, I think it was Sunday night, I'm going to like call it in at like 2:30. Was it 2:30? No, it was 1. It was a little after, 1. My mother calls me and she's like, Frank, come home. Grandma's gone. Right. So I had just been there. So I'm like, yo, we'll be right over. So I've seen dead bodies before. Right now, I'm not talking about this to be a downer. I'm just discussing this because I'm Italian. She died. We had her in the living room. This is what we do. Right. Like, it's better you die with me than in a cold hospital somewhere. Although when the hospital comes in, it's like it's because we can't provide for you the necessary stuff. Like when you need morphine and stuff and you can't swallow, the hospital has to administer that. You're paying for people around the clock to live at the house to help. That's expensive, man. But you're 90 and you lived a life and you were capable of accruing enough to handle your business right to the end too. Oh, right to the end. Boom. All right. So I come in and she's right there. I take a look and I'm like, she's not here. It's the first thing I said is she's not here. Like, obviously everyone's looking at me like, of course she's not here. She's dead. I'm like, and it's funny, the layer, like when you know me, you would go, well, where do you think she is? No, they all know me and they go, of course, dummy, she's not here. She died. I'm like, no, her spirit moved on. Right? It's like, it's outie. So my grandfather's now sick and he's sick on top of sick. And we're like, oh man, we're not going to go tell him right now. I'm like, my mother goes, go, you tell him. I'm like, I'll tell him right now. I walked upstairs. I had to wake this man up. He was like 101 fever. And I swear to Space Jesus, he looked up at me and was like, where am I? Did I go? I was just there. And he's like, wait. He goes, Frank, what happened? It's your grandmother, right? And I go, Grandma passed, Grandpa, you have to wake up. Now I'm just sharing this because I could have swore he was with her. I literally saw it in his face. Now I'm going to continue this story, and it gets absolutely crazier. This whole week was an arrow flaming shot into a bullseye. Don't know how that happened, but I'm going to give my grandmother credit for this one. All right, so he can't walk, or he can't do anything, right? So we're like, don't come downstairs. So we're all, me, my mother, my aunt, we're all hugging. And I'm sorry, I know some of this is personal, and if one of my family members is watching or something, I'm not doing this for like a show gig. This is what I do. I tell the story the way it is because I know others are going through this stuff. It gets out of control. We're gonna get out of one thing into another. So I hang out there, and they say to me, you don't have to stay for like the other parts. You have something to do tomorrow. Now I had a ceremony with a new client, right? So I've been bouncing around a little bit, trying to get things done. It'll never be business like that, right? But the only way, through word of mouth and through association, can we find those who want to wake up and heal, right? So I go and I say, before I leave my house, because my grandmother came to me like 3 times, right? So I was outside doing my morning greetings before I was leaving for the ceremony. And I said, my grandmother's name's Viola, right? So I think that's the most beautiful name in the world, right? Viola. Hey, Viola. But it's old fashioned, but it's kind of fun. It looks beautiful when it's written. So I was like, hey, Grandma Viola, come to, I'm grateful for you and everything that you've ever done. I did do this little statement. And then I end it with now, and then I repeat it again. Now, I repeat the whole statement again. Now, or maybe I'll add something to it, but I'll just keep the same thing and then add a little bit to it, maybe. But I end it with now, and she shows up and she looks right at me, and she's like, sending love ahead of your day. And I was like, you look great, Viola. I cursed. I was like, you look effing great, like, And I was in the sun. It was cloudy. It broke out. And I was like, oh, this is her telling me, because it was raining and I had to drive really far. I don't like driving in the rain through the city and stuff. It's just frustrating all the time. And then with parking, it's absolutely horrendous now. She goes, love ahead of your day. Got it. And then, okay, when I saw her this time, she looked like Lakshmi, the abundance goddess, but with Viola's face. And I was like, whoa. I'll answer. I'm sorry. I'm looking at what people are writing. I'll come back to this in a little bit. I'm in no rush tonight. We'll just take our time. But she looked like Lakshmi with Viola's face. And I mean, exactly wearing the same stuff. But once again, the jewels didn't overtake her face. So you could see her. And then I'm like, all right, so we're getting a little blessing from Viola. She's out there. So I know she's good. Once again, 4 feet off the ground, standing in a lotus flower, right? Violet of color. I guess that would be the color. Traveling that way, moving around. She's not like walking, like when I met Space Jesus, that dude walked right up to me. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy. Viola, nah, you could tell she was. Now you want to say the spirit world, right? Is it paranormal? No, it's the vibration frequency. This gets crazy. So we get in the car and we go. And I complain a little bit to Paula, right? I'm kind of like, yeah, traffic. But then something crazy happens because I got baked, right? And then I'm like, come on, let's just drive. Every traffic moved at like 20 miles an hour maximum in the area where it's the most beautiful to drive and look. First time ever, because you're usually doing like 50 jetting through there. So you're doing maybe 20, maybe with traffic. It's kind of slower, man, like 10, 15. And you're looking at the entire drive from one side of Manhattan to the other. And we were able to read the building signs. We were always, Paula wondered what certain buildings were. She was able to read the names. She's like, I never knew that. We threw some jokes around there too. It was a lot of fun. So I'm like, wow, man, I feel great, bro. I just told Paul, Viola's dropping, love anchors at us or whatever. So we get out there, and then it's alternate side parking until 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So every car in the universe, if you don't know what alternate side is, it's every other day. You got to switch sides of the street. You can't be there during certain times. So the street sweepers could come and clean the streets. The most frustrating thing around here, because everyone's got 3-4 cars, right? So it's like, whoa, like my household, I'm in a 1-bedroom apartment. We have 2 cars. So now exponentially throw that out. The guy next door, he has a car. His wife has a car. He has 2 kids. Both of them have cars. Younger son, he'll have a car. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're just cars everywhere. So where I was, it was terrible, but it was 12:30, and I had to pee really bad. And I kept saying to myself, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do, like, pee my pants or whatever. And then we drove around, and everything all of a sudden was all right. We called, we said, Joe, this is what's going on. They're like, oh, I'm really sorry. We drove around the block. I made a wrong turn somewhere, had to just come back around to do the same exact thing. But we were cruising. It was interesting. Oh, look at this. Look at this. And then I pull up, and it's literally 2 minutes to 1 o'clock. And I just pulled it. Paul's like, pull the car over in one of these spaces. Just look. You see this length of stuff? Just pull in. Where? Right here. Go. And I just turned, pulled in. And then I was like, okay, well, now we got to find this place. She goes, that's the place. We parked right in front at the front door, literally. I was like, what? Boom, 1 o'clock. I got up. We were met, went upstairs, washed my hands and face, did what I had to do. The person we met was one of the nicest people, once again, from another part of the world, now living here just a couple of years, right? I can't over talk about any of the ceremonies, but the ceremony went over. Everything for me turned out 100% okay. Then the ceremony not only goes over okay, the place was beautiful, the girl was beautiful, inside and out. Like, just, you're meeting another version of you on the way up, because we're all connected, right? But then those that are, you could tell they're at that breaking point. When Aya calls you, you're being called, right? You start to, when that countdown's going, there's a timer going, because your higher self is trying to move you into position proper at the proper time. And are you listening? And when you're eating right and you're doing the right thing, you morally feel you're doing the right stuff, whatever, that projects you into a perfect direction. So you'll hear the call, then you'll feel the call, and then the call, and then you're there, right? Now we're here. One of the things she was told, lower your expectations. Start here. So it looked upsetting, right? Like, oh, I'm going to have this giant, and then something happened. I watched energy come into the room and just envelop her head, and it like opened like a V going up, and she just went, and she was in the middle of talking to me, and then just stopped, and she was like, and I go, you all right? She's, yes. There's a dialogue that just opened, and I was like, oh, every time something like that. Whoa. You begin to say, all right, this is working now. So we're all on the same page. boom, 100% success, right? But then I judge myself as a shaman, and my grandmother just died the night before. So I'm saying to myself, did it really work out? Was it good enough? I okay, I'm going to say something about myself too, especially if any of you decide to work with me in the future. I can be hard on people. I can make it like I'm a general almost. You know, everyone wants to be friends and wants to have the experience, but then you want to hang out. And I'm like, I want to hang out with you. I love you, but I'm not here for that stuff. I'm here for this. You wanted me here for a reason because you could have done it yourself. You could have went somewhere else. You could have did a million other things, except you invited me into your home and said, please, this is what I want. Okay. I would be whack, beat. We used to have a joke, beat, button, whack, beat, button, whack. That's beat, button, whack. That's what I would be if I let this roller coaster in your direction. I'm here for you. Afterwards, we could hang out all you want. We can text, we can call, we can go out to dinner. It'll be great, but not now. Right now, I'm the shaman. I'm not your friend. That freaks people out. They get, oh, I invited this guy into my house. So I get you to realize in yourself, who are you? What are you here for? Do you want to be here? Is this your journey? You want to drink ayahuasca, or do you want to smoke pot and hang out? The choice is yours, right? But with me standing in the room, I'm going to push that direction insanely, in the direction of the highest vibration. So I'm going to have to, all right, so I text her the next day. She's still, yeah, I'm great. Things are good. And I kind of still felt failure-y within what I did, although I witnessed something crazy because just like Chris, when he pushed me and the things he said to get me amped up, we're brothers. So you're just like, hey, look, man, don't be a punk, do this. And it's like, I won't be a punk, right? So I'll do that on whatever level I need to with people. And these beautiful beings I've been with this week just go. They like, I trust you. I'm like, trust you. I got you. I got you here. Right? I'll be able to get you back. Don't worry about it. None of that. Just submit. They're like, wow, that's crazy. Let's do it. Balls this big, like grapefruits, like Vince McMahon says. Huge grapefruits on this one. Yes. Yes. All women, too. Making you men just whatever. Y'all men better start catching up. Right? You want to grow with the women. All right, so the third day, I text her, this is your checkup. What's up? And she says, all right, I'm ready to talk. I was like, oh, this is interesting. And she goes, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. She goes, it was 10 years of therapy in the first hour. 10 years. She was out for hours. And she was like, I'm so grateful. It's not what I expected. And I'm like, once again, ayahuasca for the win. It's the hero you need, not the hero you want. You want all this stuff. And yeah, you could ask for it. You can ask. It's not wrong to ask. Just be polite. What are you asking for anyway? Peace of mind? You got to do this to you. It's not like a magical genie's going to come in the room with whatever you think and manifest you a new car. You have to do that until you learn how to just manifest yourself. Everything that's done has to be done by you. And every bit of awareness that grows out of your experience, you're responsible for things that you witness at that level. Period. Right? So for me, I'll give you a ridiculous one. Some kind of weird event takes place. Boom, I can see who's reptilian, and I can walk over to you and be like, get away from that right now. Do not do that. Don't go near them. Don't go with them. Go the other way. Come with me, right? It starts small, but everyone's on a level or layer, right? Oh, you don't notice that? I'm not going to let that just do something to me because that's you. You're me. I'm you. I'm going to just let that occur? No, I'm there's a difference between watching something and then being aware and then letting something happen, right? Aya does interesting things and experiences. I had an interesting experience earlier where I kept seeing in my meditation a cop hitting a woman with a baby and the father trying to defend and him getting cracked and just being taken down, and then her being hit, and then the baby fell, but I kind of came in and like grabbed the baby, and the cops grabbed me and started beating the crap out of me. And they were like, was it worth it? And I'm like, yeah, it was worth it, because they kill me by beating me. And then when people watch it on video, they want, they want these cops, their jobs, right? And then something else happened. It occurred again, and I was standing off to the side, and then I stepped back into myself, and I stood there, and the light being came out of me, and it was like, enough out of you. And the cop just went, what? And I hooked him under his chin with light, and then the fingers went up through his head and split him this way, and it was a reptile. It was a reptile man. And then everyone was like, oh snap. Even the other cops were like, get him. Right? And the situation just started changing, and I'm like, well, wait, I just died, how did that occur? And they're like, you're changing it as it goes. Your mind is putting stuff together to associate the things that are going to take place. Also, timelines are collapsing. You're fixing and repairing and moving forward into this singularity. I go like this, but I really mean like this, because I claim my singularity. Like, I do it all the time. I'm like, yeah, it's me. So when I meet other versions of myself, I just let them know, I love you, man. I got you. It's me. All my other focuses don't have it, though. And the ones that do don't make it. Some of them don't make it. And the ones that do are already here with me. It's like those are the ones that come after you get the crud out. After you knock those layers out, where you get a better gnosis, oh, this is going down, where your belief system could be restructured into unshakable, unbreakable faith. Like, you already made up of all the good stuff. It's like breaking rock and layer. It's like being Han Solo in carbonite, right? And then one hand is free, and someone hands you like an ice pick, and you're like, and you start breaking yourself out. Well, it takes a long time to do that, and it's absolute work. Nobody wants to do that work because it's scary and it's hard. Nick, thank you so much, brother. Shout outs to you. Love you so much. Sending you positive vibes. Right? So "10 years in 1 hour." This girl's experience. Okay, now I have to go to. I got some notes here. I just want to make sure. I have to go to the wake. Everybody knows you hate the wakes when you go to them, right? I don't hate them per se. I don't hate the people there. There's no one that. The ceremonies that we've learned, or I feel wrong. I feel we should be celebratory to a degree, depending. You could be a real jerk, and then people don't want to celebrate you, so you get shit. But I feel my grandmother should be celebrated. So I was way past all of the crying and everything. So it was weird. I must have let this go a while back, leading into this, because it's taken everyone who knows me, it's like 9 months now that this has been straight going on. So it's been really, really crazy. All right, so my grandfather's sick. He can't go. And I, as the eldest son, have to, and being named after the family, it's like, look, you got to be there. You got to be up front. You and your brother. Of course. Got you. Well, it turns out pretty great. people were coming. Heist Click showed up, it was pretty weird. The original members showed up. All of my, not all, but a group of my original friends, and everyone looked so old. It was so weird, stressed, grizzled. No one looked peachy. Although Rich Johnson looks good all the time, so shout outs to shout outs to Rich. He's awesome. He just gets better looking with age, right? So, but here's the thing: we're all talking, and I'm looking at everyone. I see my mother and my aunt getting along. I see my godmother Joanne. She's beautiful, and everyone's got their issues and stuff, but you just gotta, you come in here, it's respect. So some of the other rappers I know showed up, which was wild. That was my grandma too, so it was real interesting. But as I watched, what I saw was, from talking to everyone, is how unhappy everyone is. I love my life. I love my life. I love this now moment. It's hard, and I want to cry, and I want to scream, and I want to punch the wall. But you know what? This stuff's cool, and I'm lucky enough to be here in the now moment as the singularity, with all the stuff I know and all the stuff I'm going to know. Like, I know nothing, and I'm going to know more than that I didn't know nothing, and then more nothing, and then more. Like, now it's getting good. But that's not it. I have Paula. And people go, oh, that's so cute. Whatever. All right. The two of us together are like the 1-2 punch. It's like the ultimate no control love zone, right? It's a house filled with kitties, and it's actually nice. Look, you're looking around, like, it's not disgusting or not. Like, it's nice, it's comfortable, it's got great energy. Everyone loves everyone here. We want to be here together. We want to share a life together. I want to look into your eyes for the rest of my life and forevermore. But we don't need to get married. Why? Another system of control. Everyone who gets married, everyone we talk to, still paying off weddings. It's been, I can't even tell you how many years. Everyone's just pissy, but paying respect, and it was good. It was really good. This is just my awareness level of them. Some people were better than others, naturally. Rich Johnson, once again, track superstar. He's doing good, taking a leap of faith. My friends look at me about so the original Heist Click members were there, and then they asked me, "Oh, what happened? Didn't you get hurt?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Then they're like, "What'd you do?" And we started chatting, and I said, "Look, can I speak free, or are you guys going to be weird?" So they were like, "Oh, what are you going to tell us?" And they're kind of, could be gangster or whatever. I was like, let me put it in cocaine terms for you guys, because I know you're street guys. Not that you do cocaine. That's not it. It's just that the street value here in the Bronx, you can relate certain things to certain people. So I used, and I've talked about it on the show, right? You do cocaine or a drug that stimulates to escape, and then you're constantly chasing the addiction to escape. And then when you smoke DMT and drink ayahuasca, whatever, you have your moment, you realize that the addiction is you trying to recapture your soul, your spirit, your connection to source, right? And then you'll say, "Oh yeah, whatever." And I'm like, no, man, people turn to God, they turn to all different things. Okay. I drank Aya. She took the restrictor cap off that we have put on, and it went boom, came over me. And I was like, "Oh, that's what you meant." And that was many years ago. Never had a need to even try cocaine. In the long run, helped me with cigarettes and everything else. Everything else. Not being a baby all the time. Not being a whiny little brat. Being a responsible person. Not even an adult. You don't even have to throw that down someone's throat. Just be responsible for your stuff. Let it echo out in truth, justice, and good feelings and great vibes and love and light. Why is it always got to be a choking sensation? You know, the higher up on this I get, I can see the frequency that people are in, like a disturbing frequency, like guys in a group that want to stir the shit pot, want to fight and do. Well, you're just looking at them losing their stuff, you know. And from the higher platform, you're just sitting there going, "Man, we got a lot of work to do here, huh?" See, and that's another reason we have to transform, because they're not going to set me on fire again. They're not going to crucify me. They're not going to put me in the dirt and just bury me alive again. They're not going to clip my wings. You don't get that this time. That's why all focus is here now, because the change is going to happen. It's not just going to be me. It's going to be most of us, a bunch of us, but it starts with a group of us. It starts with a few, so the many could witness and not bow and kneel. It's the person to your right or left. Go and you can do it, because they're going to do it. And you're going to go, mom or dad or the dog or whatever. Your DNA is transforming and changing. At what point does it jump to something of what they claim the saints were, right? What, oh, Frank thinks he's a saint. No, right? But maybe we all were at one time or another. But when they draw, man, I was just in church. We're going to talk about this in a second, right? Like that half light around the head where it just, whoop, you know, we see that around them, right? The enlightened ones. Okay, the enlightened ones are the saints, but not called the saints. They're the enlightened ones. So it's the same stuff. I got to keep it generalized. I don't do historical topics like that, right? So how long do you think it takes to get there? Right? Do you think when people, you've heard other people talk about this? It's funny when I talk about it with the guy, oh, it's a Frank Castle, so the superpowers things works across the board to it. Look, we're literally connected for telepathy. So at the base minimum, I'm going to be able to talk to you with my mind. That's a great idea. Don't you think? Isn't that better than plugging yourself into a computer, uploading into a system? You think that's the one that's going to save you? So you want to go, see, it really turns you into Darth Vader, right? In one degree or another, on the other end. You always get into the AI. If you're not part of the phalanx, we're going to destroy you. You know, we're going to assume and to simulate you to the group hive mind. It's like, you always go there. It literally always goes there. Right? But it starts off cool with a cybernetic arm or leg, right? Well, that's necessary stuff for people. Some people need that, right? But then you get dummies that want to cut their arm off to put the superior arm on. But then it weighs too much at first. So then they got to connect it to a rib and a higher shoulder piece. Well, that's more money and more things. Wait, then they make carbon fiber ones that are lighter and faster and strong. Upgrades and downloads in my throat so I can echo out like Batman, right? Like, you can do all that stuff without any cybernetics. I'm going to tell you right now, I transform into the light, kind of, that whatever the next step of this is, no matter how many cybernetic parts you put on, I win. Creator in the house. See, I'm going that route. You could say, well, it's a light being, it's a this, it's a that. Hey, listen, I wouldn't even want to attempt to walk into a circle of light beings and pull some shady stuff when this goes down, because what I've been witnessing is, all right, so there are things that would frighten you if a demon did it to you, right? But what if a light being kind of did that to you? What if a light being grabbed your face, right, and stuck its fingers, its light fingers, into your eyes and reset your mind? Because inside of you, you got attachments and you're flailing out and doing all kinds of stupid stuff. And one of them just grabs you, bong, right by the face. And you can see the light open, the face get bigger and bigger. Everybody that's been part of this has witnessed and been part of the jaw dropping, just disconnecting and coming down. And then the light, but it's like your face grows, everything grows, the light grows, and then the echo of the true word. You really want to stand there and watch that? That sounds a lot like the pendant stare that the Ghost Rider does, right? where he grabs your face and everything bad you've ever done wrong just gets shown to you. Nobody's judging you. I just show it to you all in one shot, and you have to experience it all right like that, just the way all of your victims did. So it's just a reflection back. But do you really want to see that? Do you want to see a light being swallow the head of someone to pull out whatever has to go? That's going to be frightening to whoever it happens to. Just as if a demon does it to you, which they do it. They do it to all of us, carte blanche. They're such pain in the butts. Anyway, so now I've already been through a death and a ceremony. Okay, I didn't partake in the ceremony. I'm just the shaman in the ceremony. And now I'm at the wake. I'm watching cousins I grew up with that are first cousins too. Just looking at me like I haven't seen them in 20 years, 30 years, but it was great when I was with you. And they can't look me in the face for more than a few seconds. So it's like, oh yeah, how you doing? How you doing? Okay. And I'm like, no, I'm talking to you. Like, oh, okay. Oh yeah, I know. I'm the guy that has to jump around and talk to 150 people every 5 minutes because people are pouring in this place. Right? So I get it. But I had to shake your hand and hug you. Look, I put up shields before I did this. I rooted myself and grounded myself. I meditated for days knowing I was going into this. And everyone had a different plot, ploy, weirdness attached to it with, why does it take a death for all of us to get together? It's so good to see you, and da-da-da-da-da-da. So I decided to science some stuff. Excuse me. I started saying, because people were asking me, all right, this is how it went down. So these ladies that my aunt knew and my mother came up to me and they're like, you're so good looking. Your girlfriend is so beautiful, right? Because everyone thought Paula was in her 30s, right? Like, and she was blowing everyone's mind because she looks good, right? And not like that. Like, she looks happy, healthy, young, right? So it's a good life. It's a thing that's happening. So now everyone's gray and kind of beat up looking and all that. And they're like, oh, he's the younger one, pointing to me, right? And I'm like, what? So they're like, yeah, you're the younger one, right? The older one has the kids, right? He looks all, where is he? And we turn around. There's like a group of us. And we see my brother, and he's having a rough time. So he's there, and he's doing the best he can. But, man, he looks like my older brother now. And I'm like 7 years older than him straight. But it started working its way around, and I kept saying, and Paula kept saying, it's like we're going backwards and they're going forwards. But it's how you're choosing to look at this, because they're like, what are you doing? What are you doing, Frank? Look, you're so alive and so vibrant. And I'm like, I'll tell you. So here's where I was scienced. I said, well, everyone heard of my injury and all that stuff. Now you're seeing me. I drank ayahuasca. This is what happened. Bang, dropped it right in their lap. And the crowd of people mixed and merged into the people that were like, whoa, this is incredible, to the people that were just like, okay, it's good to see you, bye, right? And that was cool, because get out of here, whatever. And then I couldn't believe how many people started talking to me about this, about their experiences, not with Aya, but with the idea that they would never have a way, unless they just went straight to Peru to do stuff, and that I've been the guy in the background right up the block the whole time. And I watched something beautiful occur at this wake. I was in the back room holding court with everyone that was interested. And I mean, there was like 50 people just trying to like, hey, and Paula was like, it's kind of like you have this light, right? And people want to be near you. And when that's on, everyone wants their time with you. And I'm like, I know. Even people that we thought, maybe like a few years back were more successful than us monetarily were there, maybe even good looking wise. I don't know, that's weird. Like they have more money, they're good looking, they have a bigger car and a bigger house, right? Like the whole package. They looked like they were shot with a cannon right to the couple's face. And I was bugging out from this because I'm 45. I'm the older one there. It's just weird. So when they're hearing I'm doing this, it's like crazy. So I tell my heist click guys, I attribute it to the cocaine story and how they they totally understood that and then looked at me like I was crazy. And then once again, I got the same reaction. My brother and I are good now. He understands to his understanding degree. But they were like, well, it's working for you. Like, look at you. Right. And I'm like, bingo. So I was the proof in the pudding to these people because of the injury that I had in the last time they had saw me and the stories they heard and blah, blah, blah. So all of these wonderful things started to open up. It was fantastic. But here's the problem within that. So many hugs and handshakes and people's worry and frustration. I saw Aya spreading, right? Like the antivirus through the room. Because pretty soon it's going to be half the room and then it's going to be the whole room. And it's not going to matter if we're at a wedding, at a funeral, at a wake, at church. We're going to get into that because that's where I wind up next. All right, so I have a really good night. I get a bunch of people's phone numbers, a bunch of people on Facebook, some cousins that are just absolutely all right. So you all know the story of Father Tom becoming a cousin of mine. The priest that gave me first communion is my cousin now because he left the church with my cousin at a young age when they were younger, not whatever, and bounced and just disappeared. So when I came home from Florida, he was my cousin, right? But they have 3 beautiful kids, beautiful. Now they're all bigger than me, and they're awesome. They're just awesome people, and I love my cousin beyond anything. And I love Tom, right? And I was standing there with at the wake with a bunch of people that went to St. Clair's, where I went to school, but they were like the younger kids, but still were there when he was there. And I was like, "Hey, look who it is!" Right? And all these kids just turned around like, "Oh no, he's here! He's gonna get us!" Because we had crazy experiences. We were always in trouble. The priests were always yelling at us. There was more nuns. The nuns beat us. It was kind of crazy. But then I was telling Paula when we went to the church, I go, I used to go in the back of this place with like the altar boys that were there. I wasn't an altar boy. And they would get the wafers, right, before they were blessed. And then kids would try to stuff as many in their mouth as they could because they would melt a little bit. So I go, and then just, there were boxes of these things, right? So they would make jokes. They would just scream, unleavened bread, and just fling them like ninja stars. It was weird, right? We got in trouble for everything. And we got busted for that. I wasn't the one doing all that stuff, but I always got busted hanging out, watching, laughing, like, hey, this is funny. Well, it's all fun and games till Father Tom is cousin Tom. But went up to him, gave him a big giant hug, looked him in the face. I was like, hey, Tom, I love you. And he was like, oh, love you too, cuz. He was very like, psh. And I was trying to anchor that around. So that night I come home and I'm like exhausted, but can't sleep. And there's too many people. It's too much, right? I feel like I'm crying, but I'm Frank's all right. What is this? I'm upset about it. I think this is coming from my mother, my grandfather, my poor grandfather. He's sick, and I'm back here. Frank and end higher me is back as these things start coming in, and I'm watching them going back, 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 back. And I'm telling Paul, I don't think this is me. Some of my complaints didn't even sound like me when I was complaining. It sounded like something somebody else would say. Right? So I'm like, it's too much energy. It's like overload. So it's kind of good that you have to go the next day to the funeral. You go to the gravesite. It's on the grass and everything. I was like, I don't want to be there or nothing. Just like nobody else wants to be there, but I'm going to root in and clean myself from all this stuff. I find myself in church first thing in the morning. Now, I don't have the answers to everything, but how would you deal with this? Because this is crazy. It's crazy when now kids are involved. Kids get involved. My nephew is like one of my best friends, right? He's 8. Okay, so he's starting Sundays. What I don't know what he's doing. You know what? I honestly don't know. But they're making him get communion and confirmation and doing all that stuff. I did all that. Now I'm in church. I'm like, Grandma's not here. She's not here. And so for me, it felt like this is just for everyone else. And it's an excuse, a monetary excuse, by the way, for the system to have limos, dinners, lunches, church time, donation, time, for all this stuff. I mean, I guess it's nice, but it's for you. It's to say something nice, right? But all I saw was this money attachment. It was really, really weird. So now I'm back in church for the first time in a very long time. It's so awkward. I'm sitting in the second set of pews. I got Paula on one side of me. I got my nephew on the other. My brother and his wife further down. Well, his wife was on the other side of him, and then it was my brother. So they're trying to teach him how to church, right? How to Catholic church. So there's a set of rules, right? And regulations. We have Our Fathers, things you need to memorize. Our Fathers and Hail Marys and the Beatitudes and other stuff where you need to understand when the glory be to this thing and then glory be to this thing. It's never glory be to you. It's always glory be to this thing, right? It's give your glory away, give it away, give it away, give it away, give it away now, right? That's all this turns into. And I'm watching this, and the priest, I thought he was sincere and genuine when he talked about how sorry he felt for the family, because how hard it is to lose a loved one. But when those condolences came out from the pulpit, whatever the stage he's standing on, it came out and rang correctly. You were like, oh yeah, this guy he cares. Thank you so much. Thank you. I love you. Thank you for saying that. That's beautiful. And then everything else started it looked like words just falling out of his mouth when he started going, you got to do this to receive Jesus's judgment and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, judgment? Jesus, what? I felt this thing change in me where I was triggered. Oh, was I triggered? But now I have the Grayson next to me. He's staring at me during certain things because the guy's like, get up, sit down, get up, sit down, get up. Time to raise the Father. Then it's time to bow the Hail Mary. Like, I don't know. What do you want me to do? Up or down, bro? This is like every 30 seconds it's going on. Pick a prayer, stick with it. Okay? And no, I'm not getting on my knees. I'm not kneeling, bowing. I'm not giving you a gesture of anything, but thank you for allowing me today into your home, and I will be respectful because I have to be here for them so they can grieve. So my mother could look back at me and say, good boy. When I'm in here going, I'm not saying a word, but thank you for saying nice things and doing your ritual for my dead grandmother's body so we can cry and pave over this. All right. So I didn't release any of this anger, but I felt it. Then I saw Jesus flipping, Space Jesus. Sorry, I never say just Jesus. Space Jesus it was like he was showing me him flipping the tables. It was like the metaphor for that, right? And I was going, well, I can't flip the tables. And he's like, no, you can't. But don't kneel. Don't kneel. And I was like, well, right out of Jesus's mouth himself, space Jesus, right? Telling me, stand up, do not do that. And my internal guy was screaming, I'm not kneel, like before he even said anything. I was like internally getting crazy. And I'm like, I kneel before no external source. You're bugging. I'll give somebody praise, like, oh, you did a great job. Awesome. Great to see you. Thanks. You hooked it up. Appreciate you. It's about all you're getting. You want hugs and handshakes? That's cool. But you're not getting me on my knees going, oh, I'll give you my power. You're putting me into a zombie state, by the way. You're hypnotizing me every few moments through the different rites and rituals of the prayer and how many ones and zeros and threes and fives are in the words that you're actually reading, because it was rewritten so many times. You don't even know where the original is, what the original story is. None of these guys do. Each one of them piggybacks and makes it further away and lies more. What did Hitler say? Just keep lying. They'll believe it. Trust me. Just keep lying. Believe it. Trust me. So that's the rage going on inside me. So I'm just. So my nephew goes, it's time to kneel. So they pull out the little thing and they're like, okay, been nailed down and open to the page 672, whatever. That guy didn't even write a book that's been rewritten so many times, and you're throwing your life away for, honestly, all you needed the 10 Commandments and a few other things, a few other morality teachings from every religion, and you'll be fine. But that's basic knowledge. If you grew up with that, you'd have common sense, and not everybody has that. You should be working on that, right? Common sense is rough. You have to, like, sometimes get hit in the head with the ball to realize you're playing ball. Move. Stop standing still in the water. So I chose not to kneel. I stood and then sat. I responded to nothing. I felt everyone's dirty secrets, because that's what happens in church. You start repenting automatically or something. Like you're asking this external force, you did all this stuff. So you get everybody's addictions, sexual dysfunctions, cravings, bad juju that they don't want no more. Forgive me, save me, save. It doesn't matter. A lady I know that got me onto a spiritual path a long time ago, to at least through the paranormal stuff, because I had no one to talk to, and she took it a little further, and then naturally I take it way out there. She's behind me rigorously saying every prayer like it's going to save someone. Oh, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Wait, well, hold on. You just said you the creator 5 minutes ago. What are you doing? If I could have grown Shiva arms, I would have put out about 50 slaps. It's indoctrination at its best. And at my level, it's garbage. Sorry. I'm not here to fight with anyone. From my level, it's all garbage. You do what you got to do. I'll do what I got to do. I'm not here to fight with you. I don't even want to be here. Trust me. Trust me, I don't want to be here. Just like you don't want to be here. My grandmother's dead and she's not here. How do I know? You got 20 minutes? I'll show you. Then you can see what I can see. Right? And they always go, no, I don't want to see that shit. No, then shut your mouth. I almost did it again. All right, so he watches me, and my brother starts telling him, like, come on, sit down. And I just look at him, and then he goes to, like, scoot up to kneel, and I just shoved him gingerly back. I, like, touched his knee, because we were sitting in those hard pews, and I just kind of And he was just looking at me like, okay, well, Uncle Frankie's not doing it. I'm not doing it either. I was like, you ain't got to do nothing, bro. And I dare anyone here to ask me why. Live and direct, you'd get my answer with my grandmother's permission right here in your church, live and direct. Right? My brother looked over at me and was like, and I was like, look, man, it's good. I just smiling. Like, it's good. Grandma would love us. She loves us right now. And then I can see them like, yeah, he shouldn't be next to him in church. That's not the guy you want next to the kid that you're sending to the school. I'm like, you just, because your parents did it to you, you want to do it to him. If you don't break the cycle, who does? It's a better school and everything. So what? Is it really better? I had to go to Sunday mass and all this other, at that school. So basically, you're just telling me we're not mixing with dirty people. That's what you're saying. Because those people are no good because they're not wearing a green blazer and a gold tie going St. Clair's, we belong to you, whether here or we're far away. The fact that I still know this song drives me insane. Why? Because you're not allowed to be in that school if you don't know that song. And they would beat you with those flat sticks and all different kinds of bells. I got hit with a bell once. I got kicked once. I got thrown into a wall. This nun grabbed my ear and then bashed my head into a wall and then gave me stuff. And my mother had to come to school and basically fight a nun. It was great. That was actually kind of cool. Everyone was like, yo, that nun went way too far. She was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I goes, you could apologize to my mother now. You ain't talking your way out of this one. God ain't going to save you, and Jesus isn't going to heal you. So get over it. Anyway, so these are the dilemmas we run into as these people, right? So then I'm watching all this money being spent. I don't know how to think about this. We're going to just keep the progression going. So then we go to the they're putting the body in the actual ground, and I just ground in. I used to work there. I was supervisor in the graveyard for years, and I ran the 4 to 12 shift in St. Raymond Cemetery here in the Bronx. And I hired every single one of my friends. There are two sides of the graveyard. There's the old side and new side. The old side was like hilly and kind of like creepy, and it's right in the middle of the Bronx. Like we just pull up to it on East Tremont Avenue, and like the gates are there. You just pull in, and then it's like a Tim Burton movie on one side. The other side is just rows and rows of stuff. So when I worked there, I had like one of my best friends on one side, one of my best friends on the other, and then we had guys there before us, and then the 12 to 8 guy was one of my older friends because he liked to be up all night and he had a family and stuff. It was good for him, and he was able to make the night differential. So we were driving around in trucks, kind of just watching the cemetery. We had walkie-talkies, so we would go in there and smoke blunts. We would invite our friends in, close all the gates up after like a certain time, and we would play manhunt. You weren't allowed to like run on people's graves and do like, there was plenty of space to do that crazy stuff without interrupting any of like somebody's beautiful stuff. But I learned how to rollerblade in this place because one of the guys I worked with, shout outs to Rob Banks and Baz over at the Red Cup Review. Baz is the older guy out of me, him, and my brother. He was the guy in the truck all the time. Well, I put on rollerblades for the first time and started trying to skate, and he came at me with the truck at like 30 miles an hour. He came right. There was like an area where there was like cement straight. It looks like a mile long at least, where it just goes all the way to the other side. And there's rows of that, and then it's perfect to rollerblade on. So I'd start going, and the graves weren't built on this side, so it was dirt and mud, and he would just take the truck into the dirt and mud and then whip a U-turn and come back onto the road and try to get me on the main road. So I watch movies like where you're driving and you're like, bro, I think we got away. Yeah, we did it. Yeah, step on the gas. And then you just hear the music, or you hear the lights go on, and the car's right there. That's exactly what it was like for me. And it took about a week. I learned how to do it that first night. I away from him constantly, but then after a week, I could rollerblade away from people and play manhunt, which was kind of cool. I had my rollerblades on and I'd play against people because I'd be able to roll on that cement and just stay low and look for you as I go across the graves. And then on top of it, we'd always find people doing crazy things. We found dudes cutting chicken heads off. Some guy lit a truck on fire and it exploded right near the fence. And they had to take the whole fence down and come running onto the cemetery. They ruined a whole bunch of stuff. The fire department, it was pretty crazy. We found people, partying on the old side, doing rituals and stuff. Lots of people having sex. That was without say, but it's usually a quiet place. Like I was there for years, so that was just most of the crazy was right there. A lot of the stuff we did was quiet, but there was never any paranormal experiences there. Never. Because it's empty. It's just empty. And you're like, where is everyone? Well, they're not there. That's there for you. All right, so I go, they put her in the ground. It's so windy and cold. Everyone wants to just get the hell out of there. So we bounce when it's over, and I'm completely clearing myself out, right? And Paula and I, we're not getting a lot of sleep, and we're having a difficult time. And the next day, I have an overnight Ayahuasca ceremony in PA. So, yeah. So I'm like, this is going to be an intense trip. We've had a lot of experiences this week. It's been rolling, and now we have to drive 2.5 hours out into PA and then up into a mountain where houses don't even have addresses and the GPSs don't work really well. It's pretty intense. So during these experiences that I have with people, this is I'm trying to dance around how not to talk about them and their experience with bringing into the experience something amazing. We finally get there, and it's dark, and we're trying to I'm trying to check the house, I have to do greetings as a shaman to the area, to the property, to the home, send love ahead. So my grandmother had been with me earlier in the day. She said everything was going to be good, right? So she guaranteed the trip to be safe. That was like the other time I saw her. So that's the second time. So I'm like, all right, cool. So we get up to the house, and I'm like, well, this was pretty smooth, considering all things considering. It was pretty nice. So the people that were there, they were excited. They were like, this is our second time. We're going to do this. And I get so excited, and if anyone's interested, you kind of have to contact me privately because I don't talk about it out loud, but you could bring me out to you perhaps, or something like that. But they rent Airbnbs right up in the mountains, and they just want to clear out and everything. And I'm like, okay, before you even think about just going there and having let's have an experience like that, you got to go and you got to respect the area, because this isn't your property. It's not your house. You don't know what's going on in here. You don't know what other people are doing in here prior to you. You don't know how it's being conducted. So you go in there proper so you don't have to worry. So as I'm driving up, I'm thinking, wow, this is great. Wow, I wonder what interesting thing I'm going to see here tonight, because the last time it was a giant black dragon was on this mountain in Pennsylvania. The last time I was on a different mountain this time. And we were driving up these lanes. It was just going up the mountain. I was like, whoa. And people are traveling 40, 50 miles behind me, right up me. And it's like 25 miles an hour speed limit. And I'm like, oh, I'm not from here. I can't drive like this. Anyway, everything works out. We're there. Unpack. I can't use sage there, and I can't use any smoke related stuff. You could smoke outside and stuff, but So I said, okay, tonight we're using sound. We're gonna use sound tonight. Sound works great. It works just as good as sage. All of the, oh, I'm so scared, I'm so scared, I'm so scared, that started coming out. I'm so frightened, I'm worried, I'm worried. It goes from, yeah, we're gonna do this, to, yo, I'm worried. And it's like, well, you shouldn't be worried, but you should be concerned. You should always be concerned. Why? Because it's an experience within itself. But should you be worried about something that you know you can come back from? Man, I get worried sometimes. I hate using that word, but I get nervous. I get concerned about it for a moment. Well, when I drink Aya, I shake sometimes. Like, I'll drink it, but then it hits you a minute later what you just did. I'm not dumb. I get it. Fearlessness, but not being a dummy, right? I'm brave, but not stupid, right? So I try to explain without ever saying, oh, well, we've been raped and murdered by reptilians in our ayahuasca ceremonies and torn apart, then put back together. None of it hurt. You are the creator. You are the all. Oh, yeah, there's this, that, the other thing. Who knows what she's going to show you? This, that. It could be a dialogue. I can't tell you any of that stuff. If you hear the show, then you hear it. But when I'm one-on-one with you, and you're a first time or second timer, some people aren't made for that. They're like, I don't want to see that. Don't tell me nothing nasty. Don't tell me nothing. It'll scare me. I'm like, okay, I don't want to scare you. We were having a conversation, and in that conversation, it rode to AI again. And it was like, well, that's over my head. And I go, okay, so the limit is here, right? So that we're working on all this earthly stuff and then some spiritual. But AI, you're all of a sudden John Connor, Terminator. I didn't even see the Terminator. I don't even know what you're talking about. Star Wars. I don't watch that. That's fine. That's beautiful. This is, by the way, one of the most beautiful people. Like, the most brave. I think I bring it out in people. It's something I think I bring that bravery out in people, and they shine. Oh, they shine brighter than me sometimes, because I cry by myself, right? So I know what I go through. I'm sitting here with you, and if you've on that teetering bell, I'm there going, you're gonna do it, or else, So the conversation goes to AI over my head. I go, okay, so forget about AI. Think angels, because angels could scare you just as much as a demon. I'm using metaphors that someone can work with, right? Because everything's a demon or this or that. I'm like, well, an angel can scare you. So it's like, oh, I don't want to see anything scary. And it's like, well, you're not going to always get nothing scary, but what's scary to you? Right? I used to be afraid of deer, and they would be ridiculous. Deer and sharks. Deer and sharks. Well, that's just ridiculous. It's 50% absolute ridiculousness, right? It's like, yeah, well, I had to get over that fear. Everybody's got afraid of something. I was afraid of dying alone. I had to get over that fear. Well, how do you do that? What do you think? What do you think? And I didn't do this to them, but let's talk right now. What do you think I'm talking about? It means you die. Then you come back. You simulate the entire experience over and over and over until you're okay. And you get it. You're like, oh, you just move in and out of this stuff. I'm just wearing this. How many times do you need to see that before you're like, okay, that's what this is? How many times? Once, twice, 3 times, 5 times, 100 times, 1,000 times? What are we prepared here to do? You're the one that's got to do this. Well, I don't want to see nothing scary. Well, what is scary to you? Witnessing the flower of life come out of the bottom floor underneath you is pretty frightening if you've never seen that. So the good stuff is frightening, right? So it's like, oh, I get it. Yeah, you got to submit. Let her teach you. Let her heal you, and then you heal with, like, you'll go through the process together. So I'm a hard teacher. I will bust out DMT in the middle of the height of your ayahuasca experience, and if you're chatting with me, I'll be like, we're not here to talk. Literally not interested in talking to you about anything, but do you need this? Can you hear me? Now, don't get me wrong. I love you and I want to be there with you. It's those moments you have to be stern, right? Like I can't, like if we wait, it's over. Too early, too soon, too much. See how this works? Mixed in with, you got to go for it. You got to be a little fearless, but I'm right here. Don't worry about throwing up. I got the bucket. I'll wipe your face. You won't have puke all over you. I'll take care of the whole thing. And I sat there while they were having a very good experience. Paula was on one side of me. I was on the other side of a table from the people experiencing. I love them so much. Oh, I love them. All right, so I call the mothership the bong I use. I only use that to smoke. And when I put the attachment on there, it's lights out for everyone. Everyone that's in the room is going to go, right? And everyone gets scared all the time, right? So I put it there, and I'm watching the two of them. I go over to Paula, and I check her. She's laying there, so I check the girl. I go, okay, I'm now grounding, and I kind of do a grounding thing for myself. I had been sitting there for like an hour, kind of hanging out, just me, sitting in a flower of life throw blanket. For all you become your own shaman, as we do this, you hear the details. This is the stuff I use, I work with. It's like a mandala, throw it on the floor. It's a really, really nice, comfy one. Sit on it. I was stretching a little bit, doing my thing. I grounded. I got up. I saw her. I saw Paula, and both needed to be cleared two different ways. So I was like, I got to go to work. So I used sound on her. We're on video. So she was, I couldn't use these until she purged, right? So as she was purging, the first set of purge had an attachment. The attachment wasn't coming out. So I was trying everything. Rattle. She's like, oh, I don't like the rattle. I was like, yeah, no. All right. I can't use the sage. I gotta use sound. Well, I got these with me. I was using the bells. The tongue. I don't know how to say that. Tinctures, whatever. These are amazing. I love them. But this does something, and I discovered it with Aaron when he was here. Shout outs to Aaron. 528 frequency. Right. So I ran this up and down her back and over and across the head. When I first hit it, came out again. I was like, oh, you're coming out. And then worked up the back. The purge was finished. When I mean a different kind of beautiful came out of this person. It was just beautiful, very angel-like. I was like, whoa. In the middle of, you would say, oh, you're throwing up and you're gross and this and that. No, you're beautiful. Because when you come out of it, you're beautiful. You're beautiful while you're doing it. It's beautiful while it's happening. And then you're beautiful again when it's done. But you're enhanced, for sure. Everyone is. That goes through that part. So I'm very reassuring through that. But now she's clean and clear. But now I kind of pulled some of that onto me. And I'm like, all right. Shift over. Paula goes, get over here. Clear me. So I'm like, all right. So Paula gets the same thing, same treatment, but she's not purging. She doesn't have to do that. I do this, all the sound around her. We get the air nice and clear. I hold her. I'll just show you. I held her arm. She was laying down. She grabbed my arm. I grabbed hers like this. And then I used this hand as a scan. Right? I just scan over her nice and slowly from her sacral chakra in circle, usually circular motions or little short. And then once I tune into something that I want to see, because my eyes are closed, the arm turns into, it's like a palm scan. I can't explain it. From here to here, from here to down here, just the whole thing puts it out. I'm scanning. Oh, there we go. I go, both of you tonight were wearing around different chakra points. It looked like beads, it looked like a planet going around with one Saturn ring, right? But then as you get more detailed with it, you can see there's like other little planets floating around, like other little beads on this string going around the chakra. So it's like all those little beads need to go. I need to grab coffee. Hold on one second. I thought it would stay warmer than that. This coffee does not stay warm long enough. All right. So I start absorbing the beads, right? Or those little spinning planets on those strings around each chakra. I go one by one and slowly take it away. Now, while that's going on, I have music playing, stuff from meditation or whatever comes up. I got a playlist, but all the sound is proper. So when you're getting stimulated by something, you're hyper stimulated. So it allowed me to easily access what I was doing. So I started pulling all this stuff off. Well, there's like a bubble over the house, or over the property, I should say. And then a bubble around the three of us. Each one of us has our own. And as we come together, we create a bubble, another one, right? So I'm visually seeing this. Now, I haven't smoked anything. I didn't drink ayahuasca. I do it to Paula. I clear them all off. And man, was it work. And this is going to bring into effect something else in a few minutes. Someone else at the same time from the FearLess family. I'm just going to say Steve was on his own little mission. So there's a lot of things we had in common that night. But bluebirds, little bluebirds, as I collected these pellets or planets or whatever they were from these strings around the chakras, they were loading into me, and then I was covered in them. I was like, kind of like, yo, I'm transmuting. I want to transmute, and nothing's working. Nothing. So I'm like, damn. These birds came out, and they were like little bluebirds, and I was like, oh, Hop family, right? That's the name of the bird I had that died. I called it Hop, right? And they started eating all of these things. They were like flying into me, and just, and it was funny. I tell people to get over the sharks. I had to swim with sharks in the ayahuasca realm. I had to be eaten by a shark, then eaten by multiple sharks, then attacked by a Jaws-sized shark, and then I got attacked by the megalodon, and then I was no longer scared. And when I came out of like the back end of the megalodon, because nothing could destroy me, nothing could hurt me, I am the creator. It didn't hurt. It was scary as it gets, but didn't hurt at all. It only hurts if you think it's going to hurt. And I was like, and then nothing. They were, and they were eating layers off me that I didn't know were there. It was like eating the fear away from me. And then at the end, I was told, do you want to ride the sharks now? That's your family. And I was like Aquaman. They were like, yes, like Aquaman. You could do it. So I did it. And I rode in on these sharks. And now whenever I have an Aya experience or any meditation experience where things are getting out of control, I'll call to them and they'll come right into that realm, come clean the area, as well as many others. As a shaman, I'm just connected to many animals, most as the all, everything. I'll call in stuff that I won't even know or understand what they are, but it'll be like, oh, you're not going to hurt me, right? It's like, no, I'm not going to hurt you, but I need your assistance because I don't know what this is. So if this thing's eating this and this part of me, and it's a no bueno situation, then I want with me the thing that eats that. It's like, yeah, but you're not going to. So it shows up and then goes, oh, I'm here to do that, but you're the creator. I don't want you killing me, or I don't have a problem with you. And I'm like, I don't have a problem with you either. Just go to work. And they're like, oh, okay. Anytime you need me. I'm like, well, I respect you. Thank you for your help. I love you, man. Now, can we do this? That's the kind of stuff that you get into. All right. So these birds were eating and eating and eating. Some of them were just too big. So I sat down and I was like, I gotta get rid of this. Right. Like, I'm going to go smoke some tobacco outside. That's what I'm going to do. So I go outside on the deck. It was gorgeous. We're at the top of the mountain too. The air is so crisp and so clear. And I'm like, and I look and I see eyes. 1, 2, 3, 4 moving as if nothing was in its way, but they're moving around the objects, but as if so fast you wouldn't think there's any objects. It means the woods. So I'm like, well, there's black bear up here for sure, and there's probably a ton of other things. And then they stood up right outside, and I'm smoking, like trying to get back inside because it's cold, but I'm also like, everybody's okay inside. Paula's in there. She's not under. They're nice and clear. They were having it. Once you get clear, you're like, I feel great. This is greatest experience. I have chakra clearings on, all kinds of stuff. I used everything on myself until there was nothing else I could use. The two of them they were in no position to be helpful to me. It was their clearing and cleaning. Now I have to take care of my own. So when these beings looked at me and they stood up, I thought they were bear. They were way bigger. There were two of them. They were dog men for sure. I knew right away. They look like werewolves, but they're not werewolves. They look better than the underworld stuff. It doesn't quite look like that. I don't know. It's a cross between Anubis's head on like the body of the underworld creature, maybe. I don't know. They were huffing and growling and and they were like, yo, what is going on here? So I just watched you come across that mountain like it was nothing. And they were like, well, this is our area. I was like, well, I give thanks to you and your area and respect and lots of love. You know, we're here to blah, blah, blah. And they were like, oh, could we come in and see what's going on? We're going to come in because this is our area. It's like not just yours. Like that, they were explaining like the personal house property is on the area that they patrol, and it's like that's theirs as well as the owner of the house. So they don't intrude on the house and do stupid things, but at the same time, it's theirs to do what everyone could just share in that stuff as long as you're doing the right thing. So I'm like, oh, that's pretty interesting. So I'm like, I can't get rid of this stuff. And they were looking at me. They were like, oh, go sit down. I went back to the flower, sat right in the mandala, started doing this. My hands were cracking, bones were cracking. Start doing, and they come over to me and start throwing down on me as if I was lunch, and it was terrible, but it felt great. It felt so good that if my mom was there, I might have slapped her with happy. Just pure happiness. Bam, that feels good. right. That's a joke, totally. But that's how good it felt. As they were eating, I was going, can you get that spot? What? Oh. I mean, they were taking chunks out of me, and they were like growling, and they had the drool and everything. And I'm going, this is absolutely insanity to me. I'm going pure insanity. This is where it gets. I feel great now. I'm like, oh, I'm clean and clear. And they were like, thanks, whatever. They bounce out of there. I'm sitting with Paula and the people, and I go, who wants to smoke DMT? Right? I feel really good. And they're like, nah, that's okay. I feel good. And then I'm all right. I'm okay. So I go, okay, all right. Well, you know what? I think I'm going to smoke. I think I need it because I feel it calling me. I'm working with all this stuff here, and I can't say it because the people there are more into the meditatives. They're not into the beings, the non-human entities. And I'm like, I got two dog-headed men running through the house. If I bring awareness to them running through the house, the ones that are under are gonna look for that and then tune into it. And then you don't want them to see that. It's not their job to see that stuff. It's my job to deal with that. This is where it gets interesting. So I take a monster hit, one giant monster clouding hit. And I try to sit up. I'm like, I got this. No problem. And then the whole room, I see the bubbles I was talking about, everyone's specific bubbles, the over bubble. And then these colors, it was like, when you're in school, there's like a certain, like the classroom lights, when they're on, they're a little annoying. You don't look directly at them sometimes. You're just like, whatever. It was like the ceiling, the elevation had that, but it was almost like I couldn't see through it yet. I wasn't sure. I'm like, what is that? But inside of the bubble, right under that, was all these swirling portal energy things. I don't know, man. Fractals, all kinds of stuff spinning around me. And I'm like, whoa, this is great. Wow, look at this. This is like being in one of those rides where you get in the tent and then you start spinning really weird inside the tent with the music going. It was very much like that. But I was sitting in it like, yeah. And then a gold light just swarms me from my side, right? And I'm like, because I was swaying, and I just see golden light creeping in. And I'm like, wow, that feels really good. I wonder. And I turn, and my grandmother's standing right here inside of the light of gold. And she goes, Frankie. And I was like, holy shit, it's grandma. Wow. So Paul is like, your grandmother's here? I'm like, oh, she's like right on top of me. She looks just like Lakshmi, except this time she doesn't have the headpiece on. And she has Viola's face. Viola at 40 years old, maybe in her mid 30s. I don't know. She's very pretty. And she had like a copper or brass bowl, and it had handles. We had something like this in our house. It was a very old object, and you could put fake fruit in it. And they would just put that up with the fake fruit. She's Italian, right? So she had that, and she was pouring on me coins, gold coins, jewels, and corn, maize. And she was like, Frankie, you're a shaman. You look at you. And I'm going, oh, so I was hearing her telepathically, but whenever she said my name, her mouth opened and she was like, yay. And she had a gold and light green, like it was really pretty, but it didn't overwhelm and take away from the shining on her face, which was really fucking crazy. Oh, I just let it slide. This was completely out of control. Awesome. So I looked and I saw she was floating she was like a few feet off the ground, and she was using a flower of life that was hers, and she had her own protective bubble. She could just, she was maneuvering on it. She was just standing on it, like riding it. And it was her. It was like as if she had a base platform and could just move around at will inside this bubble with us. She looked awesome. So she was telling me something, and Paula says, does she love me? I don't know if she loves me. I don't know what's going on, but ask her. So I'm like, Grandma, do you love Paula? And naturally she heard her, and she was like, do I love you? You're the girl that cooks the food, or you've been cooking food for the family forever. And she just starts pouring the coins and it was so much maize, right? So I'm assuming that was abundance, right? The corn and the maize, the coin, the jewels, just pouring it on Paula. So the girl sits up on the couch and goes, hey, what about me? Right? And then now she's under. So she's like, is that your grandma? Right? And I'm like, yeah, she can't Now I'm watching this so I can see specifics that my grandmother wants nothing to do with her because she didn't invite her into her energy. So she's not going to disrespect her free will. So she goes, no, it's okay. She could come in. And this bubble went down like boom. And then she's like, what's her name? I was like, it's Viola. She goes, Viola. And then my grandmother goes, you can have as much as you want, and started shaking it on. And it was just, there's stuff pouring out everywhere. So she like went 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. All right. Now I sit back down as they're getting showered, and I look over, and the dog-headed guys are just standing there, right there. And I'm like, whoa, that's what you look like. Like, there's a percentage of seeing it like live and then seeing it as if it's right there in front of you. So it's in your mind's eye to know they're in the room with you. That's the difference. So I kind of got a really good glimpse of them when they were doing their thing. I could describe them perfectly, but I was etherically being charged by that stuff. I was being cleaned and cleared by these creatures, right? This was one of the things they were telling me. So we're not good or bad. We just are, and we are in the dark, right? We are what we are, but we are in the dark. So that doesn't mean we're evil. So one of the things they wanted me to explain was because they were in the darkness does not make them evil. Even though they roam the forest, they're kind of like, this is our area to clean and clear and do stuff. You're a very respectful person. Your group is very welcome here, and we're happy that we can help. And I started talking to them like, this is great. I was like, this is great, because they were far enough away where it wasn't right on top of me. I had my grandmother doing cool stuff right here. They were inside the bubble of the house. So that was another weird thing. I was like, how did they get inside the bubble? Like, when I restrict you from getting in, you shouldn't be able to get in. They're like, no, we run this area. You welcomed us when we first got here. And all of that is led to this moment where we cleaned you and cleared you, but now we're watching you work. And they were like, whoa, this is crazy. Like, they were bugging on me. So I was like, yo, this is pretty cool. And behind them at the top of the mountain, I heard a rumbling. So I was told to sit down. I sat down, I was looking up, and I could see right up the corner, right up the mountain, and I saw heads starting to come up out of the mountain. And it was big. It was bigger than I thought the mountain was comparatively. I was like, this is just too big. And the two dogmen were like, yo, we got to get out of here right now. We got to get back to work. So they started moving, and I'm like, wait, whoa, where are you going? And they're like, no, when that thing activates, if we're standing in its way, it's going to whack us. So I'm like, what is that? As soon as I said it, it looks right over at me, one of the heads. All these heads, there was 3 heads. They all get up at once, and they're looking. And then they just look back down, and they're like, as if now they're not paying attention to me. And I see them light up, and it's like red fire from inside the neck, and comes out of the head, and then opens its mouth, boom, and just shoots fire on the side of the mountain over all the homes. And it was just cleaning and clearing, almost like when people are like, they do meditation or they do Reiki, and they send like the violet flame to you and all that. It was like that, but it was fire. It was like fire coming out of them, and they would charge up, and the head started doing this, and I saw that it was red, and it was getting really big and really aggressive, and I got kind of nervous. I was like, oh, this isn't cool. Like, you just scared the dogmen. I was freaked out from the dogmen. Now I have a 3-headed dragon on the side of the mountain, literally looking to come my way now. And they were like, if we get hit with that, it'll hurt us. So I'm like, wait, what's going on here? I don't know who came in and did this. I don't know if it was my higher self. I don't know if it was another being. But they handed me what looked like steaks, but they weren't. They were like almost like jerky, but they were big, like pieces, like meaty, chunky pieces. And they were etheric. They handed them to me. And I was like, what am I going to do with this? Like, I felt them. I was like, this is like gross. They were like, listen. Go give that to them. Go give that to that being right now. So the fires were just sweeping everywhere. And I'm like, I could feel that. And they're like, well, you're sitting in that vibration. Of course you can feel it. Go to him, to that being right now. So I'm like, oh, yeah, sure. Always go up to the biggest and the strongest and be like, hello. I went up to this thing and I said, hey, listen, thank you so much. You must be the dragon guy, 3-headed thing that runs the mountain. I appreciate you. I see that you're busy working. I don't mean to interrupt, but perhaps I can offer you this, and you can maybe not do that while I'm here, right? Don't spray that area. We don't want to get hurt. We don't want to get injured. I don't know really what you're doing. It just looks like you're trampling shit. But I would appreciate that very much. And one of the heads came right to my face and took one of them. Boom. And I was like, wow, that thing was huge. The other head came in. Boom. Took another one. 2 heads bit it. They went, it almost looked like they were extinguished. But 100% satisfied. And went right back into the mountain. And it got dead quiet. I was standing there. Grandma was gone, but I could feel her energy, her presence. I was now in just the bubble. I was sitting there, go back to my seat, and I was like this. The silence was deafeningly awesome. So, almost like job well done. It was like a quiet, nothing. The dog men came back. They were like, whoa, how did you do that? I was like, I don't know. I was given these things. They told me to give that to that. And they're like, oh, you gave them that stuff. That's what they eat. That's what that thing literally eats. That's what it's looking for at one point or another. Like, what is it doing? It's like, oh, it's cleaning the area. It's like its purpose is to guard its mountain. So it like wipes out. That's all energy that it's wiping out. But everything's energy, so you can't actually kill the energy. So it's like recycling, transmuting, doing stuff like that, and it's just plowing the area. So it's getting rid of those darker vibrations. The mountain had a beautiful energy to it. I mean, it was beautiful. There was nothing scary. I was standing one point on the furthest point of the deck with my arms up in the air going, thank you so much, and they were going, we love you. You are welcome back here whenever if you need us, whatever. Like, it was very interesting. It was the same kind of concept with the dragon from the place where I get the hell is it called? It's like getting a massage, but we go to this place, Lily Dragon, with lilies, and we go in there, and I was tripping. So I ate mushrooms, and I go in there, and we ate way too many to go in there, and I had the best experience. But I saw a dragon running. The dragon was every being that worked there, and probably more. It was all being done by this one dragon. And I was like, I thought it was a reptilian. I was like, let me do this for this place. And then it was like, no, I am this place. And we got your heads up with the love, as I send love ahead of everything. It's just what you got to do. And it was like, I received. Now let us work on you, because creators here. I was like, yeah, it's the all, baby, right? And I had one of the greatest experiences ever. It's amazing in layers and stuff what goes on right in front of us. So my grandmother said to me, and you've heard me talk about this on the show over and over again, but maybe not enough. I said, Grandma, are you coming back? Are you being reincarnated? Do you want to come here and be with us again? And she said, no. Why would I want to do that? And I was like, what? She goes, dummy, you're all coming here. I don't need to go back. Now, I was like, what? Now, I've talked about this. I'm fully in belief that that's going to happen, yet I'm still shocked when I hear it. Now I'm hearing it from my grandmother, the woman that made everything okay all the time. You don't need that. You're going to come here, your body, and whoever's ready is going to, as we go into this frequency, as you guys progress, we're going to merge and be in this together. So you'll have a body and be here, and I'll have no body and be here. And you'll be fully aware of me, and I will be fully aware of you. Because that's how we roll over here. And I'm like, wow. I saw the net's down completely. They're not recycling anyone against their will anymore. It's just not happening. Well, at least not for, I don't know. I would say they're just not doing it. I think it's easier to just say that. And one of the more amazing things, my friend Steve from FearLess family, shout out. Okay, so he was saying something about bluebirds and Paula to me in his writing that he didn't know anything about the bluebirds eating all stuff off me and stuff. I don't think I wrote to him about this specifically, but he was like the birds and Paula, and that's who I cleared, and bluebirds came to help me. So the birds, interesting. Also, and I got to talk to him about this, but before, I'm not actually going to say it, but they gave him his name. They didn't give him his name. He had his name revealed to him under a position of having it chanted at you. If anyone has ever had that done, you know that as they build up the chant, it gets powerful, like your real name. It's just all titles. So you did this here, so you're like the Ra. You did this over here. You're the Elohim. So you're just moving through those positions. It's like clearing a video game and saying, yes, I beat Batman, I beat Superman, I beat Super Mario Kart, and I beat whatever, Sonic the Hedgehog. Oh, so you're then the Ra-El, because that's the completion of that. Okay. And there's some other points. I can't talk about them because I don't want to talk live, because last time I talked about my name, the next thing I know, it's like a bell ringing in my head with everybody saying it and going through it and then using it against me. I'm like, whoa. I put up the restrictors. You ain't using my real name against me. Okay? It's all just titles. I've given into that nonsense at this point. I say, I'm just me. If I reveal to be something crazy, then we do it, right? And if you reveal something to be crazy, then it happens. But nonetheless, there will be a reveal, and for sure, we are transforming. And if you don't think so, you better check yourself. Look into the mirror, look into your eyes, and see for yourself. Free Energy Mobile, I love you. Now sending positive vibes to you. Thank you so much. I love you. I enjoy my energy output when Paul is not here, because I can rant and rave and go crazy, but at the same time, it's juicing and affecting. And I miss Paulie. It's an integral part, but at the same time, sometimes the stories just need to be out and need to be told, because this stuff is there. So anyway, so Steve's name is very similar to my own, right? I mean, very similar, but it's slightly different, but same. And he goes, what does this mean? What does this mean? And I go, it means welcome to the family. Welcome back. It's the most beautiful thing. That's what it means. It means you are doing it right, because how the hell else are you going to get there? That's not something you're making up. You're out of your mind if you think that somebody's going to make that up, right? And how many times does it have to go from your thought of coincidence to synchronicity? So I can't talk about certain things, but one of the guys that were at the ceremony, he told a story that was beautifully synchronistic in every way, shape, or form, but it had to do with his health and him possibly dying, and then how it all came about that he was able to get to the doctor, and then the doctor they immediately had to fix him, and he wasn't aware of it. And they were like, dude, you're like Walking Dead right now. Like, you should be dead. He's like, I'm 46 years old, whatever, or whatever age. I don't even know. And he's like, so I could have been just dead at any time. And now I'm not, because this happened. But then I saw this. I said, so your awareness level is there. You're realizing. So is that to you a coincidence, or is it synchronistically? And he goes, nah, there's definitely connections everywhere. There's no way. And I'm like, all right. See, for him, it was just, like 4 degrees of separation. How many is it for you? Think about that. How many degrees of separation? How many times do you need to see it, to be shown it, to be told you need to take a leap of faith? And then when the leap of faith comes, you don't want to take it. But then we show you what's about to happen, what needs to happen, and your leap of faith. Everyone's there for you, watching and waiting and holding, and that giant leap that you think is going to be miles and miles long, that you're going to have to be Neo jumping off a rooftop to another rooftop, and then you go and run and make the jump, and you close your eyes and you open and you realize it was 1 inch, if that, and you just flew way past your goal. It was just perspective. It's where you were looking from, where you were open to. So, oh, that's the path. It's so long. It's so hard. It's so... Yeah, dude, shut up. It's an exciting adventure. And we're about to go on together. And we're going to wake up as a family and as a team. And then we're going to transform. And then stuff's going to be better. And the planet gets clean and clear. And we get clean and clear. And we get the experience of the bodysuit plus the ha-ha, your deception didn't work on us. And in the end, Source wins for the win yet again. And then even through that, when we wake up from this experience, we'll wake up past Source in another octave, in another thing. I say it all the time. In an octave, there's 12, right? 13 would start the next one. I'm from like 15. How many of y'all with me, right? Like the second rounders that are about to set it off, so the third rounders could just transform into this. They're already programmed and ready to go. Put in the hard work. Now's the time to do it. I looked at some of the women and the look on their face when I was like at the height of their experience, and I go, "You're talking to me, right?" And they're like, "Yeah, what's the matter?" I go, "You shouldn't be talking to me." What do you mean? It's the eye and it's like an internal thing or whatever. Listen, I'm going to put this in front of you. Right? You can smoke that and experience what you've been looking for. Or you can sit here and later when I'm gone say, well, I had him right in front of me for hours and denied him entry every single time. Right? I said I come off rude sometimes and mean, but we have a saying from where I'm from: don't be a pussy, right? Get up, stand up. Get no kneeling, no praying. Stand up. Drink this, smoke that. Do it. You're here talking. What are you doing here talking to me? You don't want me. You want you. Oh shit. What are we doing here? Is this for me or is it for you? We could be friends as soon as this is done, because you're going to hate me if I don't do this, and you might hate me for doing it to you, but you might hate me now. But in a day or two, when you're like, bro, I got it. I got the mysteries of the universe unlocked. It becomes a badge of honor to go through your process for you. You're going to be muy apreciado to me. Right? And 100% blast off. Let's do it. Go from the shaking to the unshakable. Blast off. It's done. We did it. I did it. I'm in. I experienced. I got no words. All I'm going to say is now we're going to go back to when I was telling her about artificial intelligence. It kept going back to artificial intelligence. She just said to me, listen, I don't understand, but I'm going to tell you this. Robots. I would have never thought robots. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, I saw robots controlling people. It's like, oh, what? She's like, yep. I said, that's what the AI is. And she wasn't at the AI thing yet. She was at robots. That was enough, because I know what that is. I know what that's like when you see someone being controlled by one of them, or that someone is one. It's controlling that from that layer. I don't know. I'm not going to say more than that, but I'm going to say that was the most epic adventure. I love you too, Paulie. Everyone says hi. Hi, everyone. So that night, after this was all over, we all talked for a while or whatever, and it dragged out till really from in the early evening until the wee hours of the morning. I put my head down next to Paula in that bed, and I slept better than I've slept in years. I had a great night's sleep. I had purged. I was clean. I was clear. Let's just say that, right? The air did something to me, man, up there. I was breathing it in that next day, and it was like making me high. It was making my chest expand. It was just one of the most beautiful things ever, right? Reggie, say hi to everyone. Hi, everyone. Sorry. Come here. Sit like this. And I'm thankful and grateful for the entire experience. And the next day, she was unlocking, he was unlocking, everybody's unlocking. We're like, whoa! And then we talked all day long. And then, so, just like Santa Claus, you know, look, I came in, did what I had to do, but now it's time to go because I got a colony. I got an entire colony to look after. I have a family and got to get back to them. It's time to get back on the grind again. I am full of faith and balance, knowing grandma's okay, showering stuff down on me, telling me once again, affirming we're going there to that vibration and frequency where we think the dead go, when really that's reality, just stepping out of your body. So it's not, you're not going there, you're just coming and then you pop out. This is still accessible this way, you can still see it. It's like just being slightly on a elevated layer. And I talk about bringing in the golden room and the city of gold or whatever, the things we're working on in that realm. When I smoke, sometimes it'll be descending on me or we'll be ascending to it, depending on how, if we're raising our frequency, is it meeting us? But the overlay now is right there. It's just like a few feet and then it's going to be over us 100%. So I think that's like that apocalypse, like the removing of the old, and this is the new, and then this is the reality we're anchoring in because this is what we want. We don't want that other stuff. We don't want the negative. We want only the positive, you know? And the only way to do this is together, you know, but we're making it work. We're making it happen. You know, it's even raining now in Australia. 80% of the population of koalas is gone. So weird, right? Like everything's getting, some nuclear sub got taken out underwater. Crazy stuff. They said it was like a Hiroshima underwater. Things are getting taken out, moved, shucked, thrown into corners, dragged out into the light. It's happening across the board. You'll see it. Don't wait for the governments to tell you anything. Tell yourself everything that you need. Go internally, use discernment. Get connected to yourself and your higher source. Tell yourself you love yourself every day. And if you don't, find something that you love in yourself and say, you know what? I love that I do that. And start there. Because this is only about you in the long run. You can help everyone you want and do all that. Now, you got to pull it in and you got to help you. Because if you don't, you beat. You're only going to be forced, not forced, but you're going to suffer into have to dealing with that again. Because those issues never leave. Like you might skip over some stuff now and have to go back to it later. Why? Why would you want to do that? You want to get left back and do first grade again? Are you nuts? I want up and out, right? I want into my next, I want to take my flesh suit and transform into the next thing. And I want to live a glorious existence because I'm infinitely awesome and the all, and so are you. And if it's not all and you in the same sentence, you beat. You're not doing it right because it is all about that. It's all about you. It's all about me, right, Reggie? Reggie, wee. Yeah, Reggie and Buddy. Right? And then the cat beings and all that are great. It's just like, you know, feeding faces and days of purrings and pets and making your home your vacation. You know, I want to be here. I want to be here. She's purring like crazy. Sorry, baby. Give yourself the stuff, you know, the love you need. You know, you're worth it. You're worthy. You're Thor. You can lift the hammer. You know, You can change your perspective. You can do it. That's what you need to do. You can do it. Anyway, so that's my story for tonight. Hope you all enjoyed it, and I want to say thank you very much to everyone who supported me in this time, Paula and I, with my grandmother and this experience. I appreciate each and every one of you. I love you all so very much, and I send each and every one of you positive vibes from my family to yours. And Fearless family, I'm back, so we're back on the grind again. We're gonna get back into it. I saw the numbers dropping a little bit, and I get it, but we'll bring it back. We're gonna bring it all back. That is our job. People fall off the gravy train sometimes, and they lose sight. Well, I'm back, right? You're back. We're all back together. Everybody sees this and knows that it's time again to get on and ride the pony and anchor in that light and that beautiful energy, because that's what we are. Remember to clean and clear yourself at all times. Remember to be grounded. Remember to breathe. Just breathe. Just be. Do stuff that makes you happy. Build something, create something, think of something good. Don't think of something bad. Watch something that makes you laugh. Go do something you enjoy doing. Go and do something out of your comfort zone, because that's where your success is going to lie. Try something new. Do it. See what happens. Did you always want that? Did you always desire to do something like that? Are you ready to put in some energy to push this magical thought forward, or are you going to let it die with you in an early grave? This is all up to you. It's all yours and yours alone to decide, right? I say let's do this fearlessly. Let's ride off into the sunset together and light this whole place ablaze. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Remember to stay fearless, and the universe rewards bravery. And remember to to check out IamWeAreFearless.com for all your fearless gear and fearless needs and awesome stuff. Just go there, check it out. You're gonna love it. IamWeAreFearless.com. And for those of you that want to find us in the Fearless group, the Fearless family group, remember, it's the Fearless family on Facebook groups. And when you get there, answer the question. I have 36 people waiting. I will not let you in unless you answer that question. Love you guys so much. Stay fearless. And remember, the universe, it rewards bravery.